Hi, welcome back. So you're about to see John, Captain Bloodfire, another guy Christian at the beginning, and then eventually me speaking with Mohammad Hijab. So he doesn't, you'll find it potentially out of the ordinary. He doesn't seem to want to look at the Quran or defend his prophet. I say this to him in the video also. He wants to go a little bit metaphysical. He speaks a lot about logic. He's kind of gone very philosophical in this debate. And I think that potentially, well, it's glaringly obvious. If you don't wish to defend your prophet, why not? If you don't think that the indefensible is defensible, if you think that human wisdom, as it were, or, logic tricks can attack another religion that your God has at least ordained as being given by him, I don't know what's going to go on in the future for Mohammed, but I do pray for him, and I'd like you to also consider praying. I obviously mean, by the way, Mohammad Hijab, and not the guy on the flying donkey. So I'll see you in the live chat. I'll see you in the comment section. I will see you on the other side of this video. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Cosmic Christian. I don't believe in literalist interpretation so much, but I think there's a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge in Scripture, and some in the Old Testament. But I mean, I've read the Christian, the Bible, and there are actually some pretty interesting things when you think outside the box a bit.
Yes.
You think of things as metaphors and allegories and stuff. There's a lot of solar mythology, like Christ as the Son of God. I think they're talking about that thing in the light of the world.
That's soulless. But you're talking about very Gnostic things. So you know how your attitude towards the Bible is that you don't believe in biblical inerrancy. So there's parts of the Bible which can be wrong. That's fine to believe.
I believe there's textual variants.
Yeah, but not only that, but there are some things which are saga, legend. They're not exactly true in that strict sense.
Well, the Bible are different bodies of literature. So it's there's the books of wisdom, there's the prophecies.
So you see, this is very well known. Like within Christian circles, Protestants believe not everyone is. Evangelicals have a very strict stance on biblical inerrancy, right? But other denominations don't have that strict stance. So so for us. Say for example, Yasser Qadhi or anybody else decides to say there's holes in the standard narrative. That's even less significant for us than it would be for an evangelical, for someone outside of the evangelical circle to say the Bible, just like you have said today, that the Bible has some problems or has some variants. Well, some would say it's saga, legend, it's got different genre, and not everything is true with a capital T. So just because someone believes that outside of your particular denomination, it doesn't mean that that person is right and you're wrong. Like some evangelicals will say, well, despite the fact that X person, Y person, big persons, like Karl Barth, I was just reading in some of his books. Have you come across this theologian?
Karl Barth?
Yeah.
No, I've not come across him.
Yeah, well, I was reading Karl Barth.
He said Karl Barth.
Yeah. He's a theologian. I was reading his works. He's written an entire corpus called Church Dogmatics. And in one of his volumes, he makes it a point to note that the vulnerability of the Bible. He talks about how, the Bible is not. He does not believe in inerrancy, right? And he is a Protestant. He comes out of the Reformed tradition. Now, we have big. He's a heavyweight. You could argue that people are doing PhDs on this guy.
But would you argue there is more textual tradition?
No. But the point I was making, what I was making on the point with Karl Barth is that he says the Bible is vulnerable. He says that the Bible is not. He doesn't believe in inerrancy.
Right.
So what? The question is, if I go to an evangelical with that, he'll say to me, look, well, I don't care what Karl Barth says because I don't agree with him on this point. Likewise, if someone comes to me and says, well, Yasser Qadhi says this, or this person in this country in Jordan says that, or this person in Egypt says that, and says, look, well, he said that there's something in the standard narrative, I'll say, look, just as much as you care about Karl Barth, who's much bigger to you guys than Yasser Qadhi is to us, by the way, believes in holes in a narrative or whatever. So we would say the same thing.
I'm not saying there aren't people who've actually done research on it. It's like Hatun has done research on it, and I've noticed you ran away from her last time.
No, I don't really talk to Hatun because she's screaming and shouting.
You know James White? Not James White, I'm sorry. Jay Smith has done research on it. Sorry. Jay Smith has done research on it as well. So it's like people have done research on it outside the Islamic scholars.
Yeah,
and
of course.
She said there are changes.
Well, I've had my own personal correspondence.
I've not really learned on the thing.
Fine, so we shouldn't really be having this conversation.
I'm just asking you a question.
No. So for us, right, we believe, in a nutshell, right, we believe that the textual variants that exist, which we accept exist, are because of
one inherent word from
yeah.
Allah.
Right. No, good. Yeah, so we don't believe in a fixed text. We've never believed in that. We believe in a multiformal text.
Right.
The multiformal text is basically the idea that the Quran, in its initial being sent down, revelation. When it was sent down in selected words in multiple different variants. And we have hadith to back that up. So for example, the Prophet said, "Unzil al-Quran ala sab'ati ahruf," that the Quran was revealed in 7 different dialects.
Yeah, 7 different readings,
Yeah, 7 different dialects and so on. So when you see differences in the text, we just say those differences are because the Prophet told us already about that. So it's not something unexpected. You see what I mean?
I think so.
Yeah, that's it. So all the differences you find, that are legitimately narrated, all right, authentically narrated, we would say are easily explained by the hadith of 7
different translations of certain words and so on.
Translation is something else. But the idea of the Quran being fixed text is a misconception.
This group, too many people.
I'm not in control, sir. I'm not in control of the people.
Well, you could take
Please, sir, please. I'm not in control of. I can't.
Groups of
I can't.
six. You're not sticking to it.
Yes.
All of you, groups of 6. It's your own personal responsibility. I have spoken to them, and I speak to them again.
Please, sir, please, can you calm down, please?
Are you screaming?
Sir, please. Please, sir, we're all one community, so there's no need to shout at each other.
Yeah, and I just saw the interview, and I saw the way Jay jumped on it, and he was saying, this it doesn't look good for Islam anymore.
Well, everyone's got their agendas, but if you speak to the academics, I mean, you could go speak to some of the academics that are not Muslim. They'll have different stances on it. For example, I spoke to Martin Van Putten. He had a very cordial discussion, and I told him the same thing. I have a whole public discussion with him, and he said, this can be clearly understood.
There are contradictions, and you're going to hate me for saying this, but I think you already know. There are contradictions in the Bible, which are very big contradictions.
Yes.
Name one. Just give me a clue. What was
the resurrection story. I mean, if you look at the 3 different takes from 3 of the Gospels, they're all different.
Absolutely.
Right?
Oh yeah, but they would be different because they're different accounts of one event. Yeah, but they're different accounts of one event. You do realise that? They are different accounts of one event.
I believe that. I think.
And they were taken at different times. That's why.
Again for saying
no. 1 minute. Bro. They were different accounts of the same event. So obviously, if somebody goes to see somebody at 1 a.m., and somebody sees somebody at 1 minute, and somebody goes to see somebody at 2 a.m. or later time, there's going to be different. There's obviously going to be different sightings. So the writers are going to be seeing 2 different things.
That's not exactly what I'm talking about, but I've got lists.
Yeah, we've got lists.
I know you've got a list.
My reasoning is that these are stories, basically. So.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And they're not.
And like I said, many people in the Christian world would say the same thing.
James White has said it's like there's textual variants. We're open to that.
Not just textual variants.
We have textual criticism.
Like you said, inerrancy is something which is very big in the evangelical world. But look, when we speak to Christians, you might be an evangelical.
When you get around to speaking to Christians.
When you speak to Christians, right, a lot of those who basically evangelize are evangelicals, right? But the reality of the situation I've learned from experiences, the truth is Christianity is not evangelicalism, right? Christianity is bigger than that. Christianity is, you've got Catholicism, Eastern Orthodox, you've got Oriental Orthodox, in my country, the Christians that exist are Coptic Christians, right?
Some were given to be a
So at the end of the day,
I resonate much more with
so what I'm
evangelical is mentioned in the Bible, or evangelist, it's mentioned in the Bible. So we're talking about the scripture.
Yeah, I'm not talking about evangelism, I'm talking about evangelicalism. I'm talking about this is it's a group within Protestantism which has a very high value of the Bible, and so they take, for example, inerrancy as a very big thing. But other people outside of that circle, like I just mentioned, Karl Barth is a great example of a scholar who openly talks about the vulnerability of the Bible, and he's a Protestant, right? So what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, there's going to be difference of opinion. There's going to be difference of opinion within the Christian world.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The Christian world is more open than the Islamic world. The Islamic world hasn't been as open as
I don't know
because we've told them that there's
Okay,
technical
it's been a
variance.
couple of thousand
we know
years
there's
of
variance.
criticism, self-critique on the Bible, whereas the Quran has only very recently even been open to scribal errors, let alone any theological significance.
I don't know about this because I think in the early days of...
You do know about it.
No, I mean I don't accept the...
the Bible.
Yeah. No, what you're saying, I don't think it's true.
You didn't say which version would be written on a blank piece of paper.
Black piece of paper?
When you spoke to Cardi, you're not asking him for a decision.
I've already spoke to the guys about Cardi, but...
That's not what I wanted to chat to you about.
What did you want to speak to me about?
Well, we had a debate arranged before the madness happened, so not really flat earth, but just a general, I don't know, theological differences, friendly chat.
Look, I'm not talking about flat earth, and that's a different situation.
No, that's what we agreed upon before, and it's not really my thing at all, because I don't mind.
Look,
what I'd like to talk about is the Quran and Mohammad and the Hadith potentially, because defending the Bible is obviously my thing, but I don't see any Muslims really defending the Prophet. I don't see them, it's only Usman, but he will not stand on the Quran. I don't mean physically, I mean like theologically, he won't stick with that. And I find with a lot of Muslims, they deflect to the Bible, which is fine, because if that's revealed by Allah, that should also have a standard. But
haven't the Torah and the Gospel been revealed by Allah, according to the Quran? Surah 3, verse 3 says that Allah sent down the Torah and the Gospel.
You're shivering a bit. Are you okay?
I'm alright. It happens. It's PTSD.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, bro, because if you have any issues, just let me know.
I'm not going to jump out, you don't worry. It's not those kind of issues. It's just a slight tremor. It's not going to...
No, honestly.
It's fine.
If you need us to get you water...
No, I'm fine. I'm completely fine.
I have coffee, thanks, Mo.
I'm actually not even joking. I mean it.
Yeah, but when we're talking about the Quran confirming the Bible, I'm talking about Surah 3, verse 3 confirms the Bible.
Right, so the Quran doesn't talk about the Bible. It talks about the Torah and the Injil, right? And the Psalms. And
so what would Muhammad have called the Injil during that time?
The Injil?
Yeah, what would he have called the Injil at that time?
He called it the Injil.
He called it the Injil. But we're not 100% sure what it is, though, because the Gospel is the good news, but Revelation is obviously the book of Jesus, is what he gave to John. So I would
But that would have been the only thing that was called Gospel at that time. Or the fourth
I think if we want to have a productive conversation, I think the major difference of opinion between us Muslims and... We can't talk about that, but I would say even more fundamental than this, right? Yeah, there's something more fundamental.
Salvific.
No, I know it's salvific, right? And resurrection connected to it. But the most important thing is that, look, we as Muslims say, the major difference between Islam and Christianity, I would say, one of the major differences is the deity of Christ.
For sure.
Right? So we say that, look, Christ, our perspective on Christ is that he's the Messiah. Isa, the Messiah. Isa is just a name, right? You can probably call him Messiah.
It's not the same God.
Christ,
I would posit it's not the same.
No, it's not the same.
It's fine, but we're referring to the same historical person, right? Someone who was there 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
And so, what I would say is that, look, we don't think it's intelligible or conceivable or pardonable that someone can point at any human being with a date of birth and say that that person is God.
But that is because within your premise that you said any human being. So my position is that he's not only a human being, he is the word made flesh. That Yahya, who is also recognised in Islam as a prophet, is so they can both be lying, obviously, but I don't believe they are.
No, I'm not saying. Going back.
There are limitations on.
It's logos theos. No, that's the term used in John 1:1.
No, what I'm trying to say is that God is unlimited. God is unlimited in power. God is unlimited in knowledge.
I hear us saying all the time, how can God do this? And I'm like,
I think, do you know, I'll be honest with you. I was having a conversation with my daughter.
How old?
She's 6 years old. Actually,
You're
she's
going to say
7.
you got more sense out of her than me.
No, I'll tell you something, right? She's a very inquisitive person, yeah? So I was having a conversation.
They're beautiful children. When they talk about God, they're very profound.
I was driving the car, taking her to school. And she said to me, she's learning about religion. She goes, what do the Christians believe? Oh, she's already done it in school, but I think she just wanted to refresh.
So you pulled out a soapbox.
So you know me, she asked the right guy. He's thinking, you know. Anyway, she came to me. I said to her, look, this is what they believe. They believe that Jesus, because I went with her through the stories of the prophets, right? I said they believe that Jesus is God. And she said that, did Jesus eat food? And I was really surprised by that discussion, right? Jesus ate food.
Yes. And he declared all foods clean as well.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus ate food. This is the reality of the situation, right?
That's what the Quran says as well.
At any time, they used to both eat food, him and his mum. So Jesus ate food.
Just interrupting. Can I please remind you we should be in no more than groups of 6?
I'm just in a group of 4.
Monitored this week. If we can't adhere to that, just have little bubbles of 6. If we can't adhere to that, then unfortunately
we're going to have
regulations will close this
guys,
down.
please listen to the police.
You can watch it later on YouTube if it helps.
Yes.
Guys, groups of 6.
Do you know the postulation that you can have a man God?
Yeah.
We say that. Do you know? I actually thought about this. Yeah?
No. Really? Don't show off now.
If I wanted to, do you know? If I was teaching logic to someone,
critical reasoning, I've studied that.
If I wanted to give them the best, an example, the best conceivable example of a contradiction, I think this is it. You have God who's the unlimited, who's the all-powerful, who's the all-knowing,
who is
and
also
then you
spirit.
have human being who's none of those things. And in fact,
can I answer?
And in fact, both of them are the same thing.
Yeah.
That you have Jesus, who is 100% man.
You must be
and
pretty
100%
powerful
God.
to be able to have that within reality. So,
you must be capable of doing all
back
things.
to your original thing.
That's not power.
But Mike, back to your original thing. So the main differences you see are the divinity of Christ. The main difference I would put forward for maybe an extended debate would be the prophethood of Mohammad. So because the Bible's pretty clear on who the last prophet is and what should be the
No, but we're not talking.
But you won't defend the Quran. I don't believe you will.
Look, this is the Quranic notion. The Quranic notion is that Jesus was not God. That he never claimed to be God.
And the biblical narrative is that Muhammad
so this is
and
me
anyone
defending the
after
Quran.
John, anyone after John is not a prophet.
Anybody preaches different message
that's
is anathema.
But that is my difference. Internal. You chose a difference, I'm choosing a difference.
No problem, but we have to deal with one at a time, right?
So let's deal with mine first.
No, we can deal with the godness of Jesus Christ. No, because that's
not
big.
Deficiency,
No, godness of Jesus Christ. If he is God or not.
But Muhammad is the one who brought forth the surah that said he wasn't crucified, that he is merely a prophet. So if we deal with the prophethood of Muhammad, the other stuff just.
I've just put forward like 4 or 5 points.
No, okay, I'll answer those.
So you need to defend your position, and then we can do what you like.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So within Isaiah in the Bible, I don't know if that's within your remit for Allah's revelation, but within Isaiah, a prophecy is made by Isaiah to the Jews who would never have dreamed that a human child could be born who would ever be referenced as anything like divine. And in 9:6 he says, "To us a child will be born," showing it's a prophecy. To us,
a son is
given, and the government will be on his shoulders, so he will have rulership and authority, and he will be called Prince of Peace, Mighty God. All of these accolades, and he will be called Eternal Father, which Christ wasn't called the Eternal Father, but it's, in my mind at least, my exegesis is that he will be called God. And Isaiah was martyred in the most horrific, like they didn't like him. But so anyway, so it's prophesied. That's my first point. Secondly, I'm getting pretty bored, actually, of people limiting God's ability to do whatever he wants. Because if he can send a rain of fish, if he can make the rivers of Egypt run red as with blood, if the Holy Spirit can land, in the Bible account, on Jesus Christ, if Christ can say, I forgive sins, and not be a liar. When people say he's a great prophet or he's a great moral teacher, if he is merely a man, he is a liar, because he's saying I can forgive sins, and we know as Muslims and Christians that only God can and will forgive sins. So therefore he's either a lunatic or he's God. Like
I like that you're using C.S. Lewis.
I love C.S. Lewis. He's my absolute, like, apart from outside of the Bible.
Well, that's basically that tripartite. He's either a lunatic or a liar. Yeah, mere Christianity.
He can't forgive sins if he's a prophet.
That's what he says in Mere Christianity.
I know, I do lectures on it. But the point is that, so Mohammed says that Allah says, Mohammed said that Jibril said that Allah said that at the end of time he will take off the sins of a Muslim as a mountain and put it onto a Jew and a Christian.
Okay.
But he also says, Allah, that you can't carry the burden of another.
Okay.
So which is it? Am I going to carry your sins? Can you be nice? Can you be a good boy if that's true?
Let's not de-scope what we're talking about. One thing at a time.
Jesus is God.
Yeah, Jesus is God. Fine. Even if the Bible said Jesus is God, I would reject it, the most fierce rejection.
So
let me explain something, right? I have no care, with all due respect, what the Bible says.
Yeah. That's outrageous.
No. I really don't care.
That is really outrageous.
No, I don't care. I don't care what the Bible says. No, I'm saying, listen.
We're in a group of a little bit more than 6. I'm just saying.
Guys,
I'm just going
no
to
more than
stand
6.
back a
I don't
little bit.
look. I care as much about. Maybe actually no. I would say I care more about what the Bible says as much as you care about the Quran, because there are some elements in it
I
which
care what the Quran says,
but
because I believe it's taking people away from the real Jesus.
No problem. Yeah. We've already accepted the Bible is not inerrant. We've had this discussion.
And neither is the Quran.
No. Well, that's not what my position is. That's
it's Saudi Arabia's position at the moment.
Listen, please. A country doesn't have positions. A country does not have positions.
Okay, but it hasn't killed the people who reported it in Saudi Arabia.
Listen, let's not de-scope the discussion. Saudi Arabia.
De-scoping, that's my contribution
fine.
to your speech.
I don't think Saudi Arabia is an authority in Islam. Saudi Arabian government, no, of course not. Okay. Now, having said that, what I'm saying to you is very clear. Is that I don't care where it's meant. If the Quran, well, let me say this to you now, okay? Let me say this to you now. If the Quran had said that a man was God, I would reject the Quran.
It's good job.
I don't care where it said. Listen to me carefully. I don't care where it said. The proposition that a man can be God is an absurd, illogical proposition, which cannot and should not be pardoned. Let me explain. Fine.
Can I just make one contribution?
Please.
If you think can God become a man, it's slightly different than can man be God, because he isn't born and then becomes God.
Let me explain something.
It's not Mormonism.
Let me explain something. God's attributes are necessary.
Yes.
Do you agree?
Yes. They're not necessary for him to exist.
No, I'm saying they're necessary. Full stop.
Yeah.
Means they can't be any other way. That's what necessary means, right? So God is all powerful. Agreed?
My God is all powerful.
Yeah. God is eternal. Agreed?
Yes, for sure.
God is all knowledgeable.
Yes.
Agreed?
Omnipotent. Yes.
Okay, fine. If God is all powerful, God is omnipotent, God is omniscient, God is cannot be any other.
But you don't believe that?
Yeah, we don't believe he's omnipresent. With his knowledge he is, but not with his physical essence.
He hears and sees.
Okay, fine.
Well, we believe the Spirit is omnipresent.
If we believe God is all those things, then what I would say to you is this. It's simply a contradiction. It's the clearest. It's the clearest.
You finish your speech.
Whatever the
saying,
no. I have let you speak.
No. What I'm saying is you need to hear my answer eventually, whether you care for it or not.
I'm not making the argument from the Bible. I'm telling. No problem. If the Bible, if you're happy that a book is telling you something is absurd, that you accept that, and I'm not even accepting.
Accept your premise.
I'm not even accepting the Bible is saying this, by the way. But let's say for the sake of
Hebrews 1.
No problem. Hebrews 1, whatever. Even if the Bible said that, for me that would be as good as the Bible saying there's a squared circle.
Okay.
Good, no problem. You can accept it. You can reject it. I would say that I don't care where it's mentioned. If it was mentioned in the Quran, if it was mentioned in the Hadith, if it was mentioned in the Bible, if anybody told me that God is a man, I would reject
but
it.
it's God like his creation.
Position, though,
no, it's not. It's a logical position.
I'm going to explain why it is. Because the scholars of both the Quran, the Bible, the Torah, you know, the bits that Allah revealed and the parts that he didn't, they have all come to, like even non-Christians accept that the Bible states that Jesus is God. That's you know, well known.
Yes,
you know it, I know it, everybody knows that that is the biblical position.
What?
That Jesus has divinity.
Well, whose position? Which part of the Bible?
The New Testament.
So you're talking about John, for example, he has a high divinity of Christ.
I'm speaking actually about
the Pauline
Okay, you're into. Sorry. So the position is that. So if you come along now in, I guess, the 1980s, I don't know what your age is, 1990s, and now you say, even though the Bible says that men are blinded and deafened to the truth, you don't care what the Bible says. You just told me that if it says that a man is God. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's like take that out with God on Judgment Day. But the point is that there's a
seeing this, you not hearing the hear not.
My idea of Satan is that he will use arrogance and pride, which are spiritual sins, and Lewis talks a lot about it, to take us away from the truth in a way that we feel proud of doing so. And I would just say to you that as a younger man than I am, like, there were things I was certain of in my 30s, 20s, 10s even. I was pretty precocious. Don't close completely the door to the possibility that you will have a change of heart, because the Bible talks of a heart of stone, which you may have. You have.
If I told you there is such a thing as a squared circle.
Yes, I would say Mohammad Hijab's at it again.
Okay, would you accept this?
I would say God is
no,
nothing
because
like
I
his
don't
creation.
believe you. I believe God as revealed in the Bible.
No problem.
So
So I've
he's not
answered
bound
you.
by the
No, I
laws of
wouldn't believe
logic.
you.
No,
according
okay,
to
fine.
reality.
But I know engineers who can prove that 1 is 2.
Okay.
Mathematically,
No, I don't think engineers, it's not their job to talk about
but
that
they
stuff.
can do it.
Anyways, please, let's talk about something else. You're talking about philosophy of mathematics,
Let's talk
not
about the Quran.
philosophy of mathematics and engineering are two different
Let's talk about
fields.
the Quran.
Let's talk about the fact.
You don't want to talk about the Quran.
I am talking about the Quran. This is the Quranic
Okay,
position.
go for it.
The Quranic position is that it's inconceivable,
Yes.
it's not pardonable,
Yes.
it's completely unintelligible for any man with a date of birth pointing at this young man here who's 25, or this young man who's 21,
That's a
or this young man who's, or you who's 18, or anybody, yeah?
Thank you, darling.
Any young person with a date of birth, anyone, it's not intelligible or conceivable
Don't forget
or
pardonable.
pardonable.
So it's like shirk.
It's shirk.
Allah won't forgive
Listen,
it.
it's not that you can point at anybody.
No, because
Look, you have
the Christian position is Jesus is Allah. There's no partnerhood.
understand. No, I
so
know.
it's not shirk.
Okay,
so it's
no,
not
no.
unforgivable.
But I'll tell you about what shirk is in a
I
second.
know what it is.
No, you don't.
Okay.
You've misdefined it. If I say this man here who's 24 years old, is that right? 25. Okay, I'm quite good at this, isn't it? So you guys know that I'm being real with this. If I say this 24, 25-year-old man, if I say he is eternal,
Yes, he is.
what he is, yeah?
Yeah, his soul will
It's
go on
no,
forever.
not post-eternal,
Yeah,
pre-eternal,
according to the Quran,
pre-eternal.
say they do not
It's
die.
not. Hold on, excuse me.
That's what the
God
Quran
wrote my
Pre-eternal.
name in a book before the beginning, like before the beginning of this
guys,
world.
hello.
Christians
You have to learn to listen to
high
me.
Up there.
Pre-eternal, not post-eternal.
I believe in eternity, meaning eternity. Do you have a different meaning?
You've got two kinds of eternity. You've got pre-eternity and post-eternity. So before and after.
Yes.
So okay, you can argue that his soul is post-eternal. You can argue that. I
I'm
don't agree.
arguing that it's
No problem.
eternal.
I'm saying that his
no,
soul
not
is
beginning.
pre-eternal. It's not
Yeah.
pre-eternal because he wasn't there. He had a date of birth, right?
The Bible says, no, he had a physical
Don't talk
date.
about the Bible.
So before his birthday,
If the Bible is true, it would be logical.
when his mother was 7 months pregnant, was he a human being?
But-
When his mother was 7 months pregnant with this
Yeah.
lovely young man,
According to our,
was he a human?
theological conceptions.
Yes, so his birth date
Fine.
was not the inception
Fine,
of his...
no problem.
Yeah.
Say 9 months before that, right? Let's
I
say
think
10 months.
God knew his soul
He knew it.
when he wrote it in the book of life.
Yeah. No,
If he wrote
no,
it
no
in.
problem. Is he are you pre-eternal?
I don't believe that souls were there in the beginning with only God, but I believe that before the beginning of the world, the Bible teaches me that God has the names of those who will be saved
No,
written down. The
Are you a
Bible says
reformist?
so.
Are you a reformist? You believe in double election?
No.
Oh, yeah,
Some,
that's a
some
pretty-
doctrines,
Yeah, yeah.
I agree with. I'm non-denominational.
That sounds
All
like
right, no
Calvinism.
problem. Okay,
when it's
anyways,
talking about
anyway.
election.
Yeah.
Going back here, no, this is election, right? This is, you're saying that God, there are saved people, and
Yes.
that's a reformist.
Because
Calvinism,
not
yeah.
because God is in time, because He already knows the outcome of their free will. So
I
believe in free
know.
will.
Christians here don't want to be labelled, but if you're going to speak like a reformist, I'm going to,
I go
you know.
to any church that I fancy.
Nah, she's a reformist.
He's arrogant.
Look. What I'm saying is this. No problem. Are you pre-eternal? Yes or no?
Me as a person?
Yeah.
Did I exist before I was conceived?
Are you pre-eternal?
What do you mean by that?
Means that did you exist eternally into the past?
No, not eternally as God does.
Okay,
No.
fantastic. Now, is any human being pre-eternal?
The one that became Jesus Christ, but he wasn't a human being at the time.
Good.
That's what
All
you're
right.
going.
Good. So, Jesus Christ.
Hebrews,
Now hold on.
isn't it?
Jesus Christ. Forget about the Bible.
No.
This is a
how
logical
dare
argument.
You? No, I won't forget about the Bible.
Forget it then.
Come
Wait.
on.
No,
This is
so
what the
you can't
compound
tell a
theology
Christian
is
thing.
based on, bro.
I'll say
So
forget about
you
the
have to.
Quran.
yes, I am forgetting about the Quran.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, no.
You're a
I'm saying no.
Muslim.
Right now, if you can't deal, look. This is
I
what.
can deal with it, but I will use the Bible to
excuse
back
me,
up
excuse
my
me.
position.
What I'm saying
Your
is this:
excuse.
whether the Bible says it or not is irrelevant.
Not to me, though.
No problem. So what you're saying is, so long as it's in this document, I'll believe in whatever it says.
No, I would say that after prayer and the
So-
indwelling of the... I'm telling you, you haven't even let me finish. the indwelling of the Holy Spirit gives me a discernment. So whereas like somebody else might say Genesis is just poetical and blah blah blah, I actually like, as a person and someone I think who's got intelligence, I like to read it, pray about it, and see how I feel with God's.
So no, I'll tell you something from now. Yeah, if what you're saying is you are going to use your discernment, whatever that may be, it could be a hallucination, could be whatever. No.
Well, it's not going to be a hallucination.
No, it could be anything.
Then it wouldn't be
it could be mental health, it could be anything.
No,
Honestly, with all due respect. If I say to you, we're talking about truth. If I was in a mathematics classroom, I'd use mathematics.
Yeah.
In this field, if we can't get past using logic, do you agree to use logic or not?
Yes.
You're agreeing to use logic?
Yeah.
So you agree to use logical premises, yeah?
Yes.
So the fact, we agreed now.
But we have subjective ideas as what constitutes a rational chain of reasoning.
No, because the law of non-contradiction.
No. I understand what critical reasoning is. I'm saying I'm going to use Christian worldview.
So do you agree with the law of non-contradiction?
I think there are probably clauses to it. I think there are.
No, that's not the answer.
So not wholly. I would say that it's a fair basis for an argument.
So you can conceive of something which is contradictory.
I can conceive of something that appears to me to be contradictory.
No, I'm not talking about that.
But I'm answering you, and this is my answer.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about paradoxes.
Yes, I know I know what you're talking about, and yes, I lean towards that as a fair basis for critical reasoning. Yeah. But I'm aware that I'm not the all-knowing. So there may be contradictions that I see.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not talking about, we're not all perfect logicians, but
none of us.
I'm saying that, do you agree with the logical premise?
Yes.
That something
cannot it can't be held to be true if two of the premises are contradictory. Yes.
Good. You agree with that?
Of course.
Within this logical mainframe.
But there are examples of it that.
No. If you agree with that now, that's it. We're going to use this now.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
He was born. He needs things, food, drink, so on.
Humans do,
Yeah. God, has necessary properties. Properties like omnipotence, omniscience, and so on. He doesn't need anything. Now, if you're saying there's one center of consciousness called Jesus Christ, which has these two contradictory set of propositions, doesn't that just make you think, all right?
Can I answer you?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
So how can you accept this?
So the two things that you are calling contradictory are the two natures of Christ. So they have been poured over by ecumenical councils. Hashim has discussed it before. They are the two seemingly contradictory natures. So Christ has a human nature, according to the Christian worldview, and a divine nature. And they are in conflict. When he asks not to be crucified, that's his human nature, asking, can this, the Father, he says, take this cup from me, but if it's your will, then, and so the part I wanted to take you back to, which Hebrews,
so you're saying,
Hebrews 1, it explained a lot for me anyway. It says, so the Father calls Jesus Christ God in that passage. That's the one thing. But it says that Jesus was made lesser than the angels, but not of angelic stock. So as he was manifest on earth, as the word became flesh, he was made lesser because otherwise he can't die. His fleshly nature, his human nature has to die on the cross as an atonement. But the divine nature never becomes diminished. Only in terms, as a polemicist, I could say, wow, he doesn't know this one thing, the hour. But he talks about it in the book of Mark. So the two natures can seem contradictory to us because we are only human and we don't know God. We know what God has revealed to us, but we do not know God.
So you admit that you have two natures which are in conflict with one another?
At one point in time, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Not all his whole life.
Thank you. So what you agreed with me in the beginning was that you believe in the law of non-contradiction.
So what are your premises?
No. Yeah, so you said that you believe in the law of non-contradiction, that Jesus Christ has one center of consciousness but two different natures. One of the natures is a human nature which is limited in power and knowledge and so on. And the other one is a divine one.
No, but he was a perfect human.
No problem.
He wasn't limited. He was limited in terms of he can die.
Yeah, right.
But he wasn't limited in terms of knowledge.
Good. So you had the human side which can die and all that, and then you had the God side which can't die.
Yes.
Now this is exactly a contradiction.
Okay. And I'm
no problem. No, it's fine. time. If you want to live, this is why I'll be honest.
haven't
Can I
gone
say
to the
something?
third-
I have let you speak, so just let me say something, please.
You've done an inconclusive parameter.
No, we're not doing a syllogism. It's not. It doesn't have to be in that
It was
syllogism.
critical reasoning all the way.
No.
Go for it.
What I'm saying to you is simple as this. What I'm saying to you is this. It's simple. We as Muslims, just like I had the conversation with my daughter who was 6 years old,
I'm going to tell you about
and
the
she,
conversation with my
I
4-year-old niece.
wallahi, uqsum billah, I swear to Allah,
Okay.
I swear to Allah.
Yeah, I don't know what that means either.
No, I've
It
just
means
translated
I
it for you, bro.
swear to God.
All right, so if you go to your kids, have you got kids?
I'll tell you what my niece said.
Listen, you can tell me whatever you like.
It's very
But
sweet.
if you go to
Don't
them,
be, like,
no, I'm not.
condescending
Of
of
course
it.
not.
She's a very lovely little girl.
She's very nice. But what I mean is this: if you go to your 7 guys, please go to.
Seek out a
No,
6-year-old,
honestly.
people.
No, because no, seriously.
Don't do that.
This is
You
Derek
get
Chisora
burned.
here. Looks like Derek Chisora, doesn't he? Look at this guy. Looks like Derek Chisora.
It might be. Who knows? He might want a quiet life.
Anyway, as I was saying, go to your kids. Honestly, go to them and ask them. Say, what makes sense? That Jesus, he has a nature that can die, but he has a nature that can stay alive forever. He has a nature that is all knowledgeable.
I have a nature that can die and a nature that can be eternal with
No.
God.
It's
Yes,
not the
I
same.
do.
It's not the same.
I'm not saying it's the
not
same, but I'm saying it's
pre-eternal,
not
but yeah,
massive. The way you're portraying
No. What I'm saying is this. You're saying the same center. Go and ask a 6-year-old. Go and ask a 6-year-old. Is it possible? Is it intelligible? Is it
I'm going to
conceivable?
say, what does intelligible mean? I'm only 6.
Right, fine. Is it in any way? Do you believe? Do you agree that you got Jesus is a man, and he is all knowledgeable, all powerful, eternal. But at the same time, he dies. But at the same time, he eats.
That
But at the same
wisdom
time-
will be used to confound the wise. I believe that the truth. I believe that the truth, the eternal truths, are not to be grasped by those who hold premises false to the Bible. And the other thing I'm going to tell you about my 4-year-old niece. I asked her about Jesus. I said, I'm going to make a video for people who don't know Jesus. Can you tell me something? She thought he was born in England. That's another story. But the thing she said at the end, I was really touched. She said, what happens is when you die, you go to live with Jesus in his light. He'll heal you if you're sick, and when he comes back, you'll be alive again. And that's a 4-year-old. So if we're going by the under 10-year-old market, I'd say that I'd say children are less corrupted than
clearly
you.
how we should look at she's parroting that. She's
No,
not,
no, she's never been taught that.
Let's be honest. If
She
we go
got it
to
wrong.
this is an argument from logic.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to make an argument,
You're going to logic critique a 4-year-old, but not your 6-year-old,
No,
because your 6-year-old agrees with you because she hears you at home.
I'm not even denying that. What I'm saying
How
is,
big of you? Hopefully she hears you
no,
at
it's
home.
not only hearing me. I'm telling her.
Exactly. You're sitting there with a notepad. Yes, Dad.
Yeah. But what I'm saying to you is this. What I'm saying to you is, outside of socialization,
Yes.
if you want to talk about intuition, no kid is born believing in Jesus, and no kid is born believing in Muhammad.
So they're not born Muslim?
No. We don't say kids are born believing in
You have to
Muhammad.
whisper in their ear, is that right? That's what I heard.
No. I'll tell you about that in a second. But look, let Derek is going to come here and sort us out.
He knows me, it's alright, man.
But what I was going to say was this, is that, look, when you're born, the studies that we have, and I've mentioned this many times, the anthropological study in 2011 in Oxford University, kids are born believing in a higher power creator, right? We're saying that really and truly, the kind of construction Jesus is really is an augmented construction.
No, I don't
It's a
accept that
synthesis.
at all. Don't
You have an
try to
idea of
say
God.
that. Don't
You have an
say
idea of
that.
God, which you're born with intuitively, and then you have an idea of man.
What is God?
And then you add those two ideas together, and you
What
make
is God?
like, for example,
In essence, what is God?
No, I'm telling you
No,
what
but
God is.
I want you to explain that first because it's very important.
A higher power, the creator of the universe,
Right.
so on.
Is this created?
They're the basic schemas of like a month-old baby.
I'm not talking about my
Grasping
month.
and putting it in your mouth. That's literally
Is
it.
this
And I
creator
wish I didn't
limited?
do that
No.
on camera.
No, I'm not
That's
saying-
not the point.
I'm not talking about a month-old baby. I'm talking about
You
4-year-olds,
said you're
5-year-olds.
born with it.
No, like for example, you're born with it.
You weren't born age 4 with the size of you. You might have been.
No, what they're saying, like Justin Barrett and those guys, when they talk about the
Don't
receptivity
say
of
science though, because science refutes some of the Quran.
Yeah, but
Science
is the
tries to
creator?
do it with
We're not
This is the
talking
point
about
I'm trying to
science.
make. Is the creator limited to time and space and the logic
way.
and reality of
No,
the world?
So he
absolutely
can
not.
do what he likes.
He can
you
do
mean?
what he likes.
No,
within any main.
no. Actually, let me correct this. Can I make a point?
He's gonna correct God.
No.
Okay,
Before I start speaking, There are some things God can never be. It's impossible.
Yeah, he can't be wrong.
Do you know when I say perfect? Why can't God be wrong?
Because he's the source of all knowledge.
Allahu Akbar. Thank you. This is a very beautiful statement that this young lady, 18-year-old,
he's also the
has
source
said.
of all truth, the source
Do you know
of all
what?
logic,
Yeah, Derek is smiling. Look, let me tell you why. You agree with her, yeah? She's right, man.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, look.
It happens every now and again.
We actually believe God is, one of the names of God is Al-Haq, the truth, right?
Yes, I know that.
So God can never lie.
Yeah.
And this is, by the way, a big debate among Muslim, but my position is God doesn't
Why would
lie.
he?
God,
He's got Satan for
God
that.
doesn't lie because he's the source of all good, right? So
when
lying,
he says it, it becomes the truth because he is all powerful.
thank you, right? So it's you know,
Contradiction.
beautiful, fantastic.
I know I am, but
Look,
what
you know,
about my
I like
statement?
that. Look, you're getting better and better at this. I tell you, well, she's getting better.
Oh, what a badge of honour.
No, yeah, it is. Because you're saying that, look, we started off by saying that there are certain properties of God. Listen to me carefully, please, yeah? I beg you.
I do.
There are certain properties of God, yeah, that are necessary to him.
After them. Tell me.
You're just repeating yourself and telling me to answer
It's only two of them, but they're mentioned
I
in the
was going to
Bible.
ask you this question actually, Joe.
Go on.
Like, the Quran, is it created or uncreated?
Uncreated.
Right, so when your God sent it down, right?
Yes.
It had a created form, didn't it?
No.
It would have had to have a created form because it was sent down into.
No. It
It
was
did have
only
a created-
written down.
Right, it was only written down, but it was still in some way those words that were uncreated were still written on books that are created, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a logical fallacy.
No.
You don't see what I'm saying?
No, I don't see that.
Because
because
Allah, according to your book, says He sent down.
I get
You
you.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
He said He
understand.
sent down.
I think it's a misconception, right? Because we're saying that Allah, the Quran is from the Arabic word qira'ah, which means recitation. So really, the Quran is not written. The Quran is actually recited all along. Yeah, it's never been something that's written. When we use the word Quran, we're not referring to some written thing. We're referring to the recitation. That's
So
what
those words themselves enter
So
creation.
why
didn't
would
they?
you worry if someone tore a page of something that's not the Quran, that's just a mere just a
I
carbon
don't care about that.
No, you personally. A carbon copy of the recitation is not the recitation. It's not the eternal word of
It's
Allah.
not
It's
Omar
just
Khattabi.
like a
Okay, guys, I'm going to have to go and pray, so let's wrap it up.
Yep.
So all I want to say is this, just to you and the cameras, we talked about today just the idea, and I started off
Yes, sir. He's like
with,
a lecturer.
with the idea. Okay, now look, we explored Jesus Christ. Could he be, I mean, do you know what I saw recently, actually?
According one quick question.
No,
before
let me
you
just
go
tell you
to
this.
pray.
It was one evangelical website.
Yep.
Apparently,
Trolls evangelical websites
No, no,
in his
I-
spare
yeah.
time. I'm just saying.
30%
Nice. Keep it
of,
quiet.
according to this, I think, do you know what this was? Do you know R.C. Sproul? He was in, you know him, right?
Sproul. Or
Sproul?
Yeah.
I subscribed to his channel a long time ago because he's a good teacher, and, you know, or so on, yeah? But anyway,
I'm praying for you, Mohammad.
this
I
this
really
thing
am.
came up, you know, he's a good guy, yeah? Anyway, this thing came up on my feed that was saying that 30% of from his website, from his YouTube channel, like the things that his lectures are on, I can't remember what it's called, something ministries, I can't remember.
It's often the case, yeah.
30% of evangelicals don't believe in the divinity of Christ. That's what he said.
I could believe.
Not Sproul, but that's what he said.
I
Now,
wonder what they're
30%.
preaching.
He's dead now. 30% of evangelicals don't believe that. Like now, the Pew Research in America, most individuals in America don't believe in the divinity of Christ, and the majority of people, even Christians now, are leaving this idea. And the reason why people are leaving this idea is simply because of the reasons that I gave you guys. The reasons are...
How do you know? Sorry, there's been a statistical
Yeah.
analysis of going to some stores saying, do you believe in the divinity of Christ? They go, no. Check. And now you know the reasons why.
They give
you don't ascribe it to maybe Satan or the influence of Islam. Or
Satan is not really... Fine, whatever.
Satan is not real. Iblis?
No, I didn't say Satan is not real.
Oh, sorry,
I said you can't methodologize that as Satan. You can't say, oh, because of
But
Satan.
you
How
can
do you know if
say
Satan
that-
came to me or
You
not?
can
It was
say
me.
that the apostasy from Islam is due to the influence
I don't
of
know.
something that's not Allah.
No
you
problem.
made a video of it.
Fine.
Yeah,
No,
you could
what I'm
say
saying is that I'm not saying that Satan. How can you, in a sociological thing, put Satan, right? Anyway, look. What I'm saying to you.
They're putting divinity of Christ in a sociological survey.
Okay. Anyway,
go for it.
point is, we talked about the proposition that God, with what we define him as eternality, omnipotence, omniscience.
Spirit. That's important.
You guys define him as that. I don't define him as. No, I don't.
Oh no, it's because of his shin.
I don't define God as
Oh.
spirit.
His hands, he's got two right hands.
Wait a minute, isn't that in the Bible?
No.
Yes, well, hold on. The face of God is in the Bible.
Not have
Wait, hold on.
right
The face
hands.
of God is
what you're talking about. It doesn't have two right hands.
Testament.
It's described as
Face of God is in the Bible.
Yes, no,
yes,
the face of God is in the Bible.
All of that stuff is in the Bible.
Hold
on. Face of God is in the Bible. And we don't accept. We know how to interpret that.
Yes.
We're not saying that it's like the face of human beings. So let's not be foolish. Why are you throwing stones when you live in a glass house? Don't mention her face and
The thing
hands.
is, I've never
Hand
said
of God is in the
that God
Bible.
has two right hands. I've never said that.
No, but in the Bible it's mentioned God's hands, God's face is mentioned. And when we talk about
the point is you've never seen
how
that.
do we
How do we
exegete that?
So hold on, you've never seen that law, but he has two
Anyway,
right
let
hands.
him
No,
finish
we
his
don't say
question. I
God
wanna
is
ask him a question
anthropomorphic.
for next
We
week.
don't have an anthropomorphic,
Anthropomorphic.
what do you call it?
So what are those two right hands? I just want to ask a question. What are those
No, we don't. This is not the language. It's not like this. No one believes
It's
this
nothing,
in
unlike
Islam.
nothing other, but we call it a hand because we
two?
know what
Hands of a
hand is.
clock. You know, like clocks have hands.
Are
You know what I mean?
Are you
And a
trying to
face.
make fun
I'm
of
not
me?
making fun of you.
Yeah,
bro.
I am.
I'm actually asking a genuine.
No, I'm
bro,
joking.
I'm asking a genuine
We're
question.
having a discussion.
Bro,
If you want to
asking
make
a genuine
fun, then I'm going
I'm
to
not,
walk away.
You
bro.
make your
Come
last
on, I'm not.
Alright, so-
I'm asking a genuine question. What are those?
What
right
I'm
hands?
saying
I'll be
is,
honest.
Allah
What are those
spirit.
right hands?
within Islam, we have schools of thought that interpret that stuff, just like
What is
within
your
Christianity.
one, though?
What is your
I say that we don't accept any anthropomorphistic understandings of those things.
Okay, so he's
So God is
spirit,
something we
so
don't
he does
understand.
agree.
No,
You're
I don't
saying
use the word spirit.
Well, essence, like he's not.
We believe in
word
that.
essence.
Yeah, essence is fine.
Yeah.
Now, okay, fine. The essence of God, we believe, not the essence, sorry. We believe the attributes of God, are that He's eternal, He's all powerful, He is
All knowledgeable.
etc. The proposition that you can have someone who's unlimited,
All merciful.
please, fine. Unlimited in knowledge, unlimited in power, unlimited in he's eternal, pre-eternal, and post-eternal, and at the same time he has a date of birth. He's needy and so on. We say this is a clear-cut contradiction. And guys, fine. Christians can listen to this and they will make their decision. I will tell you something. What, in my estimation, this is the reason, from what we've seen, okay, of conversion into Islam and also conversion into agnosticism, right? One of the main reasons why people leave your religion is simply because they cannot conceive or accept the idea that a man is God and he died and he's eternal at the same time.
Maybe
Yeah.
the reason that people feel able to leave Christianity is
And they should.
because they
And they
won't
should
be
for that.
killed. Mohammed, let me speak now.
Yeah.
You spoke for a long
Yeah,
time.
they should.
Because the worst that will happen for them from other Christians is they will be prayed for. So maybe next week, because I know you have to go and pray,
Yeah.
we could talk about your stance on apostasy and the treatment of Muslim apostates, because they're potential Christians and they're human beings. So I wouldn't mind just discussing whether there's another way, because my understanding was that insulting Mohammed as a Muslim is like an instantaneous judgment, it can be, whereas if you leave Islam, I thought there was a grace period of a few days where your family got to try and reason with you.
I've
we'll discuss that another
got
time.
entire lectures on apostasy
I'd
online.
rather talk to you about it though.
You can talk to me
I
what
don't
you
wanna
like
shout
about
at
it.
my
But
YouTube
what I
stuff.
like to do is I like to talk about foundational matters.
That is foundational.
The foundational matter between the main, I would say, the main difference
Your
between
views
us.
on
Let me just
apostasy
finish
are
the
very
sentence.
important.
The
Because
main
you
difference
get listened to
between
by many people.
the difference between me and you.
Yeah.
One of the main differences
Many.
is the divinity of Christ. What we've discussed today shows, without a shadow of a doubt, unfortunately, there is no consistent reply of how there can be a
Because you won't
sense.
let us go to the Bible because you're
No, of
setting up
course.
a false premise.
Listen, I do not accept the Bible.
You haven't shown me how that's illogical.
So why are you telling me
sense of how it could be
Because
illogical
I'm
for God?
Because in logic, anything that is within reality
fine, bring
can
it-
be used.
bring it
So
in logic.
Yes, but the Bible is a part of reality, and therefore I can use it as the
can-
accumulated
you can
wisdom
find-
of the early Christians.
Just put it in a logical form. I'm happy to listen
Okay.
to anything you've got.
Excellent.
For me, personally, just like many Christian scholars I was just speaking to you about, I don't think the Bible is in any way inerrant. I believe that the Bible is vulnerable, and that is the words
Don't
of...
believe it's inerrant.
It's totally
do believe it's-
erroneous.
yes.
It has...
You don't believe the
Totally.
Quran's inherent evil.
No, I believe that it's inerrant.
Totally.
Yeah, I
believe
believe
the
the
Even
Quran's
the
inerrant,
parts
but you don't
that
believe
you
the Bible's.
say herald Muhammad's coming, you say those are erroneous as well. You don't say,
Possibly.
just possibly. But the ones about the divinity are definitely erroneous.
No, there's nothing about divinity anyway.
I'll bring them
That's
to
a
you.
separate.
Next week, I'll bring
That's a
them to
separate
you.
discussion.
I know.
But even if there were a verse in the Bible that said clearly Jesus is God,
Matthew
like the Father, I would say,
14:27
I've said this to you before, if there was verses in the Quran that said it, I would reject it because it's so illogical that no one can understand
But
it.
your logic is not that of the Creator.
Exactly.
Okay, well,
Just because you
fine.
say so,
logic
my
is
logic,
people on
beyond our
YouTube
logic,
will
and
believe it, but-
therefore,
well,
Yeah,
my
but
logic
you
is
don't-
different
You
to your
don't
logic.
accept
Fine.
my premise.
Which
You
one?
don't accept
You
that
just said
God's
it.
wisdom is much higher than ours.
Sorry?
You don't, but I just said, but your logic is not that of God. Like, and you were like, fine, fine. As if like there's a potential for you to know as much as.
You know, look, you see these buildings here?
Yes,
Can you see them?
Dad.
Can you see the buildings there? Now, can you see that cafeteria there?
Not without looking around, but
All
I know
right.
it's
Can
there.
you see those cameras there?
I can.
How are they constructed?
By engineers, architects,
Fantastic.
and workmen.
Now, if they didn't operate on the same paradigm, everything would fall apart on itself, right?
Some paradigm.
Yeah. So if an engineer comes into the office, the architect doesn't say, "Well, I'm a Muslim. My logic is different to your one. You're a Christian." We use the same mathematical rules and the same logical rules.
But we have
If you don't
different
want to introduce,
theological-
listen,
hold on. That's
If you
not
don't
an
want
argument.
to,
If somebody wears a spacesuit and they create that
Includes
spacesuit,
logic.
it doesn't
Anyway,
mean that it's impossible
no
to wear a
problem.
spacesuit. That's a bit weird.
Okay, anyway, thank you for that. What I was saying is simply this. If you don't want to bring the same exact paradigms, subject matters, parameters that we would use in the fields of architecture and engineering, which is logical. At the end of the day,
God is the ultimate
if you don't want
architect.
to use that to have a discussion, and if you're not
I
going
will
to,
use
and
that.
if you do use it and you realize it's illogical that you can have an eternal and uneternal man at the same time, it's a contradiction. But I'm going to keep.
Yeah, but nobody can
faith
know
is gonna
God according to
propel
the
me.
Quran and the Bible.
All I'm going to say to you
Okay,
is,
you say that and
then
I've
what
got
you're
it.
doing is basically this is what you're doing.
Excellent. All right, face palm. You are a young man, and I am.
Anyways, guys, thank you very much. There's nothing more I can say about it.
The thing that I would say to you is that as a student of, I think it's psychology, is it with you? I don't know, you use a lot of long words. But as someone who's interested in theology,
Right, okay.
similar to me, I think we've got similar educational backgrounds as in disciplines. It would be nice to have a complete critical reasoning conversation and then just a human to human using theological. So the logical in the theological is still logic. It's just got different parameters to critical reasoning. But God bless
Now,
you. I'm
theology
praying
just
you,
means
Mo.
study of, by the way. Study of God.
Yeah.
It's not.
And
It's
the
not
knowledge.
this.
The
It doesn't mean
logos,
anything with
it means the knowledge of, not the study.
logic
The knowledge.
and theology are two different
Logos
things.
is knowledge of.
Anyways, thank you very much, and.